Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Sydney Motorsport Park, day 2 of Race Sydney and the Shannon's Speed Series with the Kumho TCR World Tour and Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia putting on an electric show under lights last night. Different kind of electricity in the air today, some thunderstorms around Sydney Motorsport Park, some unpredictable weather, and it could throw anything at us. I'm Richard Craill. Paul Jeffrey's alongside me, our international voice this weekend. Have you recovered from last night? Because you walked out with this look on your face going, I'm not quite sure what I saw.
Richard, I've had a stupid grin. Basically, since the second I arrived in Australia, we came in, I was stoked to be here, stoked to be at Sydney Motorsports Park, seeing the TCR Australia guys. Then we had a bonkers qualifying.
Yeah.
We loved every second of it. I came out of the box and I said to Nolts, right, quali was crazy. Race will never, ever reach that peak. And then it just went bonkers from the green to checker. And yeah, I'm still on a high. And I can't wait to do it twice again.
It was one of the great TCR races. We're going to go for a little wander down pit lane to bring you up to speed, a little bit of housekeeping from last night. A couple of 5-second penalties have been applied. So Mikkel Lefkona gets 5 seconds, which drops him from second to third. That was for weaving behind the safety car when the lights are out. And Jan Ellershay also copped one as well in the Cyan racing car. That is a uniquely Aussie thing. And we've seen drivers over the years, Bathurst 12 Hour in particular, have had those dramas where local rules, the little 1%ers like that, the lights go out in the safety car. You're not allowed to weave here, you can in other places, and it can catch people out.
And that's really interesting because in the driver's briefing that we had prior to the track action, there were the specific Aussie rule changes, the weaving under the safety car, the blocking rule as well. And that caused a, I don't want to say dissent, but a great amount of conversation with the Europeans and the internationals. And it's something that you need to, it's difficult to remember as the Aussie audience. You guys are used to these rules. And in the heat of racing, you know yourself, I know, many people watching know, it all comes down to muscle memory and reflex. And if you've got to take that percentage away in the brain to think, hey, what are the regs here? What am I supposed to do? Especially, man, in those conditions that we had.
Yeah, oh man.
It's so easy to make that almost a rookie mistake. It's almost embarrassing to say we've made that mistake at this level, but you can see where it comes from.
Will Brown's car just behind us, the Liquimoli Team MPC Audi. Gee, he was impressive last night, wasn't he? We know he's a world-class driver. What did you make of him, your first time seeing him live?
I'm a super cheap auto TCR Australia fan. So I have been from distance watching that one on the TCR TV app that we get in Europe, of course, because we don't get Stan Sport. And I always thought the level of these guys is high.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some of the guys, the Barguanas in particular. They said, hey, we know we're good, but we've never proven it because we've not raced against anyone. And now we know for sure. It does not surprise me one bit. What surprises me is almost the polite lack of confidence of all the guys saying, oh, I'm so proud to be in the top 10. Don't be proud.
Yeah.
You should be in the top 10. You've delivered what I expect, and it's great. It's really impressive.
We don't get this a lot
No.
here. So for us, it's so good to have the benchmark in the world of any given category, whether it's GT3 cars or whether it's TCR cars, and have them here. The factory international team, the BRC Squadra Corsa squad, really cool performance from them last night, right in the mix. They worked their way forward. They were one of the teams that got caught out by that rain shower in qualifying, didn't get the tyre call quite right, so they perhaps didn't qualify as well as they did, but right towards the front. It was the opposite situation for Team Australia in their Hyundai camp because they were fast in the dry, they put the wets on, they were over-pressured, and they dropped right back. So what it does from a Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia perspective, closes the championship right up. So Bailey Sweeney still leads. Josh Buchan drops to third. Aaron Cameron goes up a spot after an epic drive in the Peugeot, and we'll get to him in just a minute. So there's these subplots we've got to unfold as well. And World Tour points are closer than they've ever been.
Yeah, we've got a dead heat at the top of the standings between Jan Ellershay and Norbert Mikulis. So you can't get any closer than that. We came into this 4 drivers separated by 27. There's been the slight change with Mikel dropping down to third, so I need to recalculate my understanding. But we're basically separated by a blanket over the top 4.
Just want to have a closer look at Cyan Racing, Link & Co. I stood on the pit wall in practice yesterday and watch this team work, and it's like watching a Formula One team. They are so impressive, and they go out early in the session, all 4 cars, line astern. They all came back in, line astern, very nice, all lined up at 45. New tyres go on, front to rear, whatever they're doing. beautifully presented. This is an awesome race team.
But I mean, the team is incredible, as you say, and you can tell just by the preparation of the cars and the way the things look. But look at the drivers.
Yeah.
We've got a world champion, Ted Bjork. We've got a multiple world champion in Jan Elishay. Ma Qinghua, first Chinese driver in a Chinese car to win a world championship level race, driven in Formula One.
Yeah.
If you remember, back in the day in the early 2000s, the first Chinese to drive in the Chinese Grand Prix official practice session. Santiago Urrutia, 26 years old, massively competitive, had a monster weekend on home soil in Uruguay. So that's the perfect storm. Awesome team, massively good preparation, a decent budget, of course.
Correct.
And 4 sensational drivers that work as a unit, no egos.
And I love there's a little Aussie link here because we had what was Polestar with Volvo in touring car racing here, which was great. So really cool to see. I'm a Ted Bjork fan. I love what he's done in his sport, and he's just got that cool Scandinavian swagger, which I love. Cyan Racing, or Lincoln Co., I think 350 corporate guests here today. They've got the whole end suite here at Sydney Motorsport Park, so activating on their involvement in the sport, which is awesome. That's what we want to see.
And they've got a massively engaged fan base as well, so they've had hospitality at most rounds, and it's just incredible to see the number of people taking photos, meeting the drivers. It's just, as you say, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's Formula One-esque in its delivery, but in touring car space. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll leave it to the audience to decide, but it's for sure impressive.
I'm sure, being the race fan that you are, you're across the exploits of Jordan Cox.
For sure.
We saw Pete Coxey last night, charged his way from the back of the field, just missed on the last lap, despite sending it around the outside at almost every one of the 12 corners here. Just missing get that top 10 inversion to go to pole, but it was a cool drive from the Schaeffler driver.
And you know what, dude? That's one thing that stood out to me as the outsider coming in.
Yeah.
The Aussie boys, not in the slightest afraid to get those elbows out and rub it with the world guys. And I think Coxey did a sensational job, really give Bebo Girolami something to think about on that last lap. And honestly, obviously I'm a commentator, I'm massively unbiased, but I'm gutted for him. A pole in race 2 would have been quite special.
Look who we found. One of the great stories, probably come in the middle of us because there's a significant height difference across the board here. It's Ben Bargwanna, Burson Auto Parts Peugeot. One of the great stories, and I said this to his dad, Paul, this morning at breakfast, that I thought it was one of the better stories in TCR Australia history, full stop, was your pole position yesterday and the elation inside this garage. So let's forget about the race for a moment. Just go back to that qualifying session. I mean, what was the feeling after that, and what did that mean to you?
Well, a good reference is I still got no voice. I was screaming that loud in the car. But honestly, like, to think we would even get in the top 10 was just not even in the realm of possibility. We made the 10, and then to put it on pole was just like something that was unheard of. So yeah, it was probably something I never expected. And if someone told me I'd be on pole the day before, I would have told them they're lying.
Yeah, and be honest, was it local knowledge that gave you the confidence to go, yeah, we're going to commit to slicks that have got a little bit of temperature and know that the track will come to us?
Look, I think we're in the 10, so I figured let's take a risk. My engineer said this is how champions are made. We take the risk. At the end of the day, if we're 10th, that's still amazing. So we thought we'd take the risk, and yeah, it just absolutely paid off.
What happened when you put wets on?
Yeah, it wasn't too good. I didn't like the wets, so we had to get them off pretty quick.
Yeah. Just overpressured, was it, and you dropped back, or in the race?
In the race, yeah. A bit of a stuff up from the team, but at the end of the day, look, we win together, we lose together. That's just the way it goes. We made the mistake, we'll learn from it, and yeah, we'll try go again.
Elbows out today?
Absolutely.
It's the right answer, Paul. Yeah.
Well, what I want to ask you, Ben, obviously we had the pleasure of your company in TCR Europe back at the start of the season, 6 months ago, believe it or not. How different is it racing the world boys on home soil compared to being the outsider coming into Portimao and Spa?
It's very different. I mean, I sort of know I can go order food in my language, and it's quite comfortable.
Tell me about it. That's absolutely marvellous. I'm enjoying this.
No, it's very different. Look, the atmosphere is different. I had a lot to learn when I came overseas, so everything feels a bit comfortable here, and it's a lot different. But at the end of the day, out on track, it still feels very similar to what I experienced over there. These guys race hard, and that's what we're getting.
Yeah, it's been sensational to watch the journey, and I think Marcello said it before, Marcello Lotte, and we've certainly said it on our many broadcasts. Your adventures into Europe and then racing again on home soil, that's the embodiment of what the TCR spirit and the Kumho TCR World Tour is all about, man. So you're very much the poster boy for this series.
I like the sound of that. No, but look, I agree. TCR is an awesome format, and look, it should inspire young kids. They can go overseas, race in the same car, they can race in Australia, and they can compete to be a world champion.
But more to the point, you can race in Australia at the same level as the boys overseas, and that's the big story for me. The way that you and your colleagues here have not stepped up, because you've always been at this level, but the way you've come in and been an equal, if not better, than the world guys.
100%. And look, at the end of the day, like I mean, I got pole in what is probably an old car now. We're competitive, we do the best we can, and we mix it with, you know, the world touring car drivers, the best of the best. There's however many world champions in this field, so it's something you don't see in a lot of categories.
Well done, mate. Good to see. He's a big fan of your old man too, by the way. Fanboying over the Bathurst days. Well done. Go well today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
There's Ben Barguana and the Personal Auto Parts Peugeot. Now, I think there were a few how good is this is thrown around in that garage last night. So we're getting our way to the end of the Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia field. Massive day. 2 races today. One of them featuring the reverse top 10, which is something a little bit different for Kumho TCR World Tour. So you're playing to the Aussie rules this weekend, which just throws a little bit more spice and has the prospect of getting a few new names up the front of the field.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's what, from our perspective, when I say our, I mean the World Tour, it's interesting to do a completely new format. Yeah. All the guys, bar none, maybe the mechanics are less happy, but the drivers for sure love the idea of 3 races. And they're changing format as well. We swap the top 10 based on Q1 quali. Yep. Obviously, you guys are based on the race 1 result and then the points over the course for race 3. It's just another variable. And it's TCR as we know it, but a little bit different. And I love variety. And I think so far, if race 1 and quali is anything to go by, man, it works.
Can you believe we get to do this all again next weekend at that other place just up the road?
I honestly, folks, Australian folks at home, Bathurst, I know you all love it. I know you do. And for you, it's your local track, sort of local, so you're kind of used to it. For me, I'm a 39-year-old bloke who's liked motor racing for 37 years, 36 of which I've wanted to come to Australia. So basically, I'm pretending to work, man. I'm on holiday. This is a dream come
You're doing
true.
Another 3 years.
Yeah, well, you know.
Comprehension was building.
Yeah.
It's cool to have you here. We're glad you're having a terrible time, clearly. 2 big races today, but also Trans Am Series are here, and there's a championship on the line as well. James Moffat won the race last night. They've got 3 races today. Workhorse Radical Cup is on the program. They've put on a great show. It's the final round of their championship, so a title decider between some really fast young drivers. And arguably, maybe aside from TCR, the race of the day yesterday, the Hyundai Excels. They put on a blinding show, so catch them as well. It's all live at Break Free and on demand on Stan Sports. We're live on the 9 network around Australia as well, and TCR TV around the world for the TCR races. We hope you join us. Enjoy Race Sydney, and don't forget, in your calendar, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst International is just days away when we go to the mountain. Until then, enjoy Race Sydney, and it's goodbye from Sydney Motorsport Park.